Some players in New World have been calling New World a Throne and Liberty waiting room. There's a lot of hype around Throne and Liberty, and I can see why. It's because there's so many similarities between Throne and Liberty and New World, but in this case, it seems like Throne and Liberty is going to do it better than New World. For example, Throne and Liberty's open world PvP will be more engaging since there's actual PvP events that pops up in the world. So you will notice that there's events on the map popping up with world bosses and raids and so forth with PvP enabled, that you can partake in and get rewarded and rank on a ladder or a ranking system. So there's a bigger incentive to actually flag for PvP and actually start doing open world PvP in Throne and Liberty, where in the case of New World there's really no incentive to flag for PvP, capture forts or push territory influence while flagged for PvP. The only reason you need to flag for PvP in New World is to actually level your PvP track and to get a little bit extra more farming luck and experience. But everyone knows no low level is going to flag for PvP since they will just get destroyed by level 60s. Regarding the class system of Throne and Liberty, it will be similar to New World since if you switch out your weapon, your class will change. And just like New World, you can also have dual weapons where you can switch between your Fire Staff and your Ice Gauntlet, for example. Throne and Liberty will be similar in this aspect, but I'm not sure if you will be able to switch between daggers and magic. But it might be possible. Maybe your stats get switched between the weapons you use. I have seen countless examples in the trailer where, for example, the mages will use a hammer with a Fire Staff, or the mages will use daggers with a magic staff. So maybe we can interchange physical weapons with magic weapons. We will have to wait and see. If so, the build variety of Throne and Liberty will be much better than New World. I also think that the mobility of the game will be much faster than New World, since I saw a grapple hook that you can use to traverse terrain. Plus, you can also use this grapple hook to pull yourself towards mobs just to fight them. In the same breath, you can also turn into animals like, for example, wolves and birds and so forth to run faster and traverse the world of Throne and Liberty. And of course, New World doesn't have mounts. The only thing that New World does have is a little bit extra speed boost when you run on roads, but Throne and Liberty will actually have a way to navigate the map much faster. At least you don't have to play the game on a running simulator. When it comes to combat, I think Throne and Liberty is a little bit behind here since they use a tab targeting system, whereas New World uses action-based combat. So I think the New World combat will be much better and more engaging than Throne and Liberty's combat, but we will have to see. Tab target is not always a bad system. There's still some skill involved in the combat, but I think New World's combat might be better than Throne and Liberty's combat. But we haven't played the game, we will have to wait and see. There's also going to be massive guild wars or wars in Throne and Liberty, just like New World, but way more on a massive scale. For example, you have these big sieges going on in Throne and Liberty, where in New World you have more of a point capturing system to complete wars. So in Throne and Liberty it will be massive sieges that you can partake in. They've also stated that the server size of Throne and Liberty will be between 3000 and 5000, and of course the server size of New World is only 2500, so it might even be double the size of New World. Another advantage that Throne and Liberty has over New World is that you can only play New World on the PC, and Throne and Liberty you can play it on the PC and the console. So more players will probably play Throne and Liberty since there's not a lot of MMOs that are on consoles. So Throne and Liberty's player base will probably be much bigger than New World's player base. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. NCSoft is developing Throne and Liberty, and as we know, NCSoft likes to publish games that are pay to win. But they have stated in the developers update and in the investor calls that they are going to try and minimize the pay to win aspect for Throne and Liberty, and that they have done their research and they have seen that the Westerners doesn't like pay to win games. Hopefully they keep their word, but we will have to wait and see. We've also seen that there will be a lot of raid groups and raids in Throne and Liberty, whereas in New World at the moment there's 0 raids, but we know that at least we are going to receive a raid in New World by the end of the year. But it doesn't look that promising. I would rather play a game where there's already a few raids going with more PvE and PvP content. And we know New World is currently lacking content, and the content that they are currently bringing out is just repeatable content or the same type of content that is getting repetitive and boring. For example, they're bringing out a new dungeon and probably a new chest run. That's their main content at the moment for PvE, and it's getting stale and boring. We need something better, and maybe Throne and Liberty will provide us a better PvE and a PvP experience. I think the hope of the players is that this is what Throne and Liberty will provide to us, a good endgame and progression. Since the endgame of New World is currently very stale and there seems to be no real true progression in New World. Talking about staleness in New World, it seems also that the Throne and Liberty mobs will not just be copy and paste, and there actually will be a variety of mechanics for the mobs, and you won't just fight a reskin mob like in New World. Luckily, the mobs has become better in Brimstone Sands, but as you know, if you go through the game, you will see that the New World mobs seems to be the same overall, or just a little bit different, but not different enough to differentiate between different mobs. They've also stated that there will be a big focus on the open worldness of Throne and Liberty. For example, there will be open world dungeons, where in New World you have instant dungeons. And the dungeons will also have 8 levels to it, if I can remember correctly, and within these dungeons you can also have PvP and so forth. But as you progress with the dungeon will get more difficult as you progress downwards into the levels of the dungeon. So you might see some epic PvP dungeon battles fighting for resources and mobs. That being said, Throne and Liberty will have a flagging system where you have to flag for PvP or opt out of PvP. But they have stated that for some events you will have to flag for PvP, and you will get notified beforehand if this event is a PvP flagged event. Which is great, which gives us more incentive to participate in PvP events. And I've also heard rumors about a ranking system and a leaderboard in Throne and Liberty. And as we know, New World has just released their leaderboard and the response to it wasn't that good. So hopefully this leaderboard will be much better in Throne and Liberty. I'm looking forward to Throne of Liberty. We will have to play the game and see how it goes. We will have to find out the crafting systems and so forth to actually see if this is going to be a good game. But I think there's potential that Throne of Liberty has that New World doesn't have at the moment. New World has a good base for the good game, but at the moment the developers aren't performing and they're releasing content too slowly, and if they release content is not well thought out or there's lots of bugs. So I'm switching my focus to Throne of Liberty, and I'm hoping that Throne of Liberty can replace the void in my heart that New World can't. Let me know in the comments what you think of Throne of Liberty and if you're hyped for Throne of Liberty. If you've liked this video, remember to give it a like and consider subscribing for future Throne of Liberty content.